No, I won't be able to say it again.
No, look, we can just keep doing it until we get a tape we like, and we'll just keep throwing them away. But I love what you just said about getting things together, getting people together, telling them the purpose, and then turning them loose.
So the way we manage has been, you line people up, you tell them what to do, you get a piece, you know their outcome, you make sure and you monitor it and see how it's all tied together. The future is actually much more complex and free in that you actually take people, you align them around passion and purpose, but then you set them free, you don't pin them down, and they bounce off against each other, they build relationships, and together they find the next direction. And as long as you have a clear picture of what you're trying to achieve and a clear set of purpose and principles, they'll do just fine. And you teach them how to make decisions together. So it's not pinned down, know everything, have a process map. It's actually let people be free, and it's counterintuitive, right? For people to do that.
Yeah.
So
it feels like we should send in a group of people called pattern recognizers
I agree.
who go in and say, okay, this is an idea. They just lift it off as you would a transparency. You just lift that off, and people keep thinking, keep lifting ideas
and
off.
that's exactly how we've designed this. So we had a big idea around the living office. It was very general, it was very abstract. And we started to say, hey, we think there's 8 parts of this. And then we said, no, there's 9, and we actually have landed on 12 parts. And it's everything from a shared vision to a place design paradigm to a set of products to a set of services. So there's 12 things. And we've put one person who's passionate and qualified in charge of each of the 12. Haven't told them what to do in their area, but we all get together and they're the nodes of our offer, and those nodes keep developing and evolving, which causes the one next to them to develop and evolve, to form new relationships and new matrices and new networks. And so it's incredibly organic, and it's incredibly uncertain, and it's incredibly invigorating and surprising, and sometimes you go off the rails and you pull people back. But it works, and we got to where we are twice as fast as I think we would have. Matter of fact, I don't think we would be here today if we tried to, set a process and tell everyone what they needed to do and have a process, the Microsoft project map for everything. We wouldn't even have the map done by now.
Yeah.
So we just had a shared view, got people who were passionate, told them their area that they should sort of percolate, and we just bounce off each other and build connections as we go.
Yeah. And so, in a sense, the concept of the living office came from a living office.
You're not right. Well, it came from principles of life, and we said, well, what are the principles of life? And it's elements of surprise and uncertainty, and this freedom, these sort of loose systems of things interacting, each evolving on their own, but together forming an ecosystem. And so we said, well, let's apply that to places, let's apply that to tools and technology, and let's apply that to actually how you manage people. And Herman Miller has always managed this way, but we didn't know what it was. So our founder talks about covenant relationships, not contracts. So we're all about innovation and imagining and delivering things that didn't exist. It's very hard to do that in a contract relationship where you define what you need by when, because you don't even know what you're doing. And so Herman Miller has always had covenant relationships where you agree on the purpose, the goal, the objective, the loose vision. You agree who's responsible for which areas, and then you set people free, and you keep meeting and bouncing off against each other to get outcomes. Very different, very frightening to most companies, completely the opposite of what we're taught is good process and management.
Yeah.
But it's the mode of living, it's how people live, and it's how life happens. And so we believe it's probably how organizations should work.
So you have a design degree and an MBA both?
I have a fine art degree, a degree in history, and an MBA.
Right. And your most recent degree was an MBA?
Yes.
And so...
I was the wacko artist at the University of Chicago, where everybody else was an investment banker.
Right, right. And could you see then what you're witnessing now, that the world of work, that capitalism would be flexible and fluid in this way?
No. I mean, when I went to business school, I was learning design at Herman Miller and how we do it, which is a lot of what I'm telling you about, but we apply it to products. And then I went to business school and said, oh, what if we apply this to business instead of products? and it works. And I mean, to me, this is how Herman Miller is innovative, but we just don't know it as a practice.
Right.
And so we're getting better and better at knowing it as a practice.
In a manner of speaking, Herman Miller, with this new living office, is exporting its corporate culture to other corporate cultures.
We're learning it better ourselves. You know, most people, we do our thing and we don't even know what we do. And that's how Herman Miller as an organization is. It's just who we are, it's our culture, and we don't really see what we're doing. And so we're trying to step back a bit and see what we're doing so that we do it better, and we actually find we are a networked organization. We are a living organization. There are these principles that we're talking about that are actually coming from us. So why shouldn't we share them with the world? Because they've worked incredibly well for us in terms of innovation. And we don't, it's not necessarily right for all work. So if you're making 500,000 of the same thing, it's probably not the way to manage, right?
Right.
But if you want to reinvent that next thing that you're going to make 500,000 of, it is the right way to manage.
Yeah, yes. And to the extent that everybody's now, whatever they're doing at the moment, they're also in the game of reinventing who they are and what they will do in the next moment.
That's the other thing we're seeing is there are every large company started as a small company with a big idea.
Right.
And most Fortune 500, 1,000 companies have many of these big ideas that they expand globally, they expand and extend into niche markets, they drive down costs as low as possible, but then they have to reinvent the idea because the earth is only so big and most of these companies are global, and costs they found the most efficient means to manufacture, so costs are approaching zero or as low as possible. So now what's left is reinventing the big idea, and many of them try and apply the same principles that they have to optimize to how they invent, and it doesn't work. You have to apply what we're talking about, which is this mode of life, of sort of living management, which is freeing people, giving them shared purpose, giving them shared direction, connecting right capabilities and passions, and then letting them evolve their part of the organization or the living organism. And that's how life works.
Yeah. Are there any early adopters out there who will be the first ones into the living office and will be a chance for you, a laboratory for you?
Yeah. There are, and I probably can't share them, but there are a number of companies we're talking to that we see pieces of this, and it's actually, we saw it in them before we saw it in ourselves. Like, hey, we said, they're doing this, well, we do that too, and we realizing we do many pieces of it, but a lot of those pieces do live elsewhere. One fundamental thing that most of them seem to share is our perspective on purpose. So back to business school, when I went to business school, we were asked in a lecture hall of 40, what's the purpose of a business? And 39 hands went up to saying to make money. And I was the only one who said, well, to solve a problem really well. And I was told that I was crazy, and I left thinking I was crazy. And what I learned was Herman Miller was founded on that idea, that if you actually solve a real problem for people, you'll get rewarded much more highly financially than you would if you're trying to achieve a financial goal. So the way we look at it is, if you want to make more money, don't focus on money, focus on your purpose and your passion, and the money will come, which again is very counterintuitive. But companies like Johnson & Johnson and Herman Miller and IBM were all founded on this principle. It's about 10% of businesses seem to pursue it. And those are the ones that have lasted for many decades and have outperformed the stock market.
Right. Darn, I just... Hey, there he is, Jim.
Save me from this.